Welcome, everybody, to Family Karma Kast. And this is Indra, and I am really excited to have a guest on to recap with me today because our beloved Deanna has a really busy week and she's unable to recap this week. So we wish her the best with everything that she's handling right now. And I am so pleased to welcome Sneha from Project Mindy, who has been on the podcast at least 2 times before, right? Or several times.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah, on the Patreon a couple times when we did episodes on there. And then I think our most recent chat was about Bridgerton season 2.
Yeah.
Which was super fun. But Sneha has a great podcast called Project Mindy. And do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about that before we get started?
Yeah, sure. So it has, we recap Mindy Kaling shows and some other pop culture stuff. And right now we're doing recaps of The Sex Lives of College Girls, which airs on HBO Max. And the episodes are airing right now. We have a couple recaps up and an interview with the cast member coming up this week too. So
can you say which cast member, or is that?
Yeah, sure. No, it's the actress plays Jocelyn. Her name's Lauren Spencer. She is so funny. She's the girl in the wheelchair. I don't know. That's probably how people
yeah.
She is super funny and amazing. She's definitely going places. So
yeah, no, she's great. I mean, I love everyone on that show.
I love everyone. I know.
I've been watching it. I think I'm only 3 or 4 episodes in.
We have to talk about an episode.
No,
then.
Totally, we should. It's not as good of a season as the last one, I feel. I don't know if you feel that way.
I feel bad saying that because I want to be a fan of everything.
Yeah.
And I also just slight detour because I love talking about family karma.
Yes.
But one of the storylines is Kimberly, one of the 4 main characters, lost her scholarship and she's not rich like the other girls.
Yeah.
But the decision the show made, sorry, I don't know where you're at, was to have her sell her eggs.
Yes.
Which I just have a lot of issues with that, and I feel like the show isn't treating it the way it should, and I don't know if it's going to. And
I think I just saw the episode where she started to explore it. I'm behind because I think 2 more episodes have come out since then, but yeah I was kind of I don't love this choice. It's such a huge decision to make versus just telling her parents.
Yeah, getting student loans. And as someone, I think a lot of the watchers are probably older. I don't know if they're all college age. I mean, we know from Never Have I Ever, it's women in their 30s. But as a woman in her 30s who's explored fertility treatments, it's just a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I feel putting it in is just, I don't know. It just requires more of a serious conversation that I don't think a 30-minute show can handle.
Yeah.
So.
No, well, I mean, I think that's such a good point is fertility treatments are really serious and people need them for all sorts of reasons, and to sort of flippantly be oh, I'm just gonna sell my eggs and make $80,000. It's okay, but what are the implications for people who need those and why, and you're right, it's not a long enough format show to really get into the nuances of all of that. Yeah, that's interesting.
But it might not be something that casual viewers are care about at all, because it's not even really a huge plot line.
Well, it is kind of. It's her whole storyline, at least to what I've seen so far.
I think also it's 4 characters. They all have storylines, and it's hard to fit it in such a short episode because they are usually 30 minutes. So maybe that's what we're seeing.
Well, in any case, it's a great show. I love having because I feel I have all these hour-long show dramas that I'm watching. Yes. And sometimes especially right now with a newborn, I'm just I just need 30 minutes of something that I can turn my brain off but also enjoy. And I feel that show is perfect for that. So
and highly recommend, because it's always super funny.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I've been on your podcast several times. We did recaps of Never Have I Ever, such a great show.
So great.
And even some episodes of the Mindy Project.
No, I actually said, I think I said on one of the things, I was like, welcome to the Mindy Project. No, that's not what
So anyway, please check out that podcast. It's really great. And Sneha, thank you for being here today. This is such a crazy, this is a good episode.
It's so good. And I have to say, I almost texted you before, like when the other episodes were airing, to be like, I know we've been complaining that Bravo hasn't been promoting the show, but like, you know, like I understand why viewers wouldn't be as interested. And then this episode happened. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah, I know. And I'm just like, I have to say, like, I posted something on Instagram about how it was ridiculous that Watch What Happens Live didn't have a Family Karma cast member on after this episode. Instead, they had Candace, which, okay, I understand because Potomac is on Sunday nights as well. And she was kind of like in the middle of all the heat in that episode. And Potomac is like the best housewives show, in my opinion. But then they had Matt Rogers, who I love. Like, I love Matt Rogers. Las Culturistas, his podcast is like so refreshing and lovely. But I'm like, can't you put him in as filler on some other night and have like any of the cast members from Family Karma? There's so much drama going on right now.
Would be the perfect episode to be like, okay, so what's happening in real time?
Yes.
Like, what can you tell us? What did they not show? You know, because stuff always gets cut out.
Exactly. And like, I have heard from cast members in the DMs like that they're not getting their whole story told. Like, there's more to it. And it's like, that's what Watch What Happens Live is really good for. And I feel like they're just like, whatever, this is just like a throwaway filler show type deal. That's how it feels.
Wait, what have the cast members told you?
Well, so I won't reveal
or do we want to get into it?
But there is, yeah, I mean, there's like, I mean, I think with all of these shows, it's like they tend to show us one side of a drama more than the other. So like, one particular person is like not looking great this season. And I think that there's a little bit more to the story. If you go to the Instagram poll that I did recently in our stories about who is messiest, that might give you a little bit of an idea.
Okay.
There's because all the men on this season are in the drama too.
All of it. Oh my gosh. I'm disappointed in all of them.
I know. Come on, guys. Get your shit together. So anyway, what an episode. Let's get into it. I kind of have watched it a while ago at this point, so I hope my notes were good enough to bring
I watched it yesterday, but
okay.
So I think I might have maybe a little bit.
Okay, so you have a fresher take on it, hopefully.
Yeah.
But okay, so the first thing is this, like, they get right into it with Rishi. They're like, Rishi, what's going on? Like, what did you hear? And he says in the beginning, I went back and watched it. He says a week ago, Brian told me. So we already know from that like whatever he says to Monica later is like a total lie, which we find out in the subsequent episode, it turns out. But so he's like, yeah, a week ago he told me this. And meanwhile, they're like cutting and showing footage of Monica like giving him a beauty treatment on the
We have to talk about that. What exactly was she doing?
Well, she was like lip rolling she was doing like a lip roller, like one of those jade rollers, I think. And then she was like trimming his eyebrows with kitchen scissors.
I was so freaked out. I can't remember if it was on one of your posts or maybe someone else's, like maybe one of the cast members, when I was like, I was terrified when she was using those, like not even, they were sharper than kitchen scissors. They look like packing, like really sharp. When you get your eyebrows threaded and, you know, they use that little thing, and she was like, okay, I'll guess I'll just use these.
They looked like, you know, those like cutlery block sets that you get, and there's like scissors in those. It looked like one of those. But
yeah, like meat chopping.
And I was like, they're clearly at Rishi's apartment and he doesn't have the right tools. So maybe she was just using whatever she could find.
I don't know. I was just so surprised at how calm he was. Like,
I know. Well,
what?
I think we're seeing another side of him, right? Like, because Deanna and I have definitely been defending his honor this season. And this episode is sort of making me wonder, like, if that cool, calm, collected guy, like, it was so easy for him to lie to her about the timeline, which is like, maybe it's not a big deal or whatever, but it's still a lie. And a lot of people said in comments online, which is so true, is like when Monica's like, oh, he doesn't lie about things, just like little stuff like what he ate for lunch and stuff. And people were like, girl, if he's lying about what he ate for lunch, like he's lying about other stuff too.
That's such a huge red flag. Like someone who lies about stuff that doesn't even matter.
I know.
That's like worse, right?
That, I mean, honestly, little lies like
everything.
that in my relationship would like really irk me. Because it'd be like, why are you not telling me the truth about something small? Like, what are the bigger things that you're not telling me the truth about?
Exactly.
So, anyway, so that's jumping ahead a little bit. But anyway, so he kind of like says this is the timeline and everything. And there's this whole thing that both him and Brian say that like Monica like can get like really fired up and like super angry. And so I just thought like it wasn't worth bringing up because she would just get like too upset about it. And it's like, well, you still need to tell her. Like, I don't know. It doesn't really matter what her reaction is. Like, she needs to know.
It would be fine if she got upset over this, but I kind of thought it was like, oh, women, they're always freaking out about something.
Yeah,
like,
it was a little bit. That vibe was there for sure. And Brian was definitely like complicit in that. And like, oh, Brian.
I mean, I should have known that he's that kind of bro, but I was like, oh, come on, Brian.
I know. It's like, Brian, I mean, we can just say, like, Brian, you should have told, like, Monica's your best friend. Definitely, you should have told her first. Like, if you were going to tell anyone, like, it really, like, should have probably come from Amrit, although it seems like Amrit took a long time to talk to Monica.
I don't know what the timeline is. The brunch was a week ago at this point in the show.
Yeah,
right?
and then like we see like the whole sequence of Monica going through it at the end of this episode because like Amrit and Nicholas have brunch with her and she immediately goes to meet Rishi where the timeline is like this was said a week ago. So that means Amrit and Nicholas waited a whole week to tell her when like really they probably should have called her the next day to say what happened. So
well, this was the last episode, but did you feel like Vishal was really pushing it at the brunch to be like, what did Nir just say? Tell us.
Yeah,
not that Amrit should have said it anyways, but
he was pushing like clearly more than Amrit was like willing to, and clearly like Amrit had 9 mimosas. Like I'm gonna assume that Vishal also had 9 mimosas, maybe more, and like a couple shots of tequila. So like they were both like kind of looser than they probably would be otherwise, and I think that contributed to like Vishal pushing too hard and Amrit then spilling the beans. So
and Nicholas also wasn't Nicholas
was in on it too for sure.
He escaped like everything.
He was the one who said it, I think, in the end, right? Yeah,
I thought so too, but then I was like, maybe there was more said.
Yeah, I mean, in any case, it's like, so we see this like confrontation between Brian and Amrit. And before that, like Brian does say quickly, like, I got a new job with a tech company and I'm like saving up and I'm like trying to move out of my parents' place. And they like show a clip of his brother finding condom wrappers around the house, which is like, oh my God.
I can't remember if you guys have talked about this, but his brother looks so much like him. It's like disconcerting to see them.
I feel like the Benny family, it's like, it's one of the like, it's like you see them all together and you're like, these people are absolutely all related to one another, like they really look like each other. Yeah, they look really similar, totally. So then Amrit like calls and is like, I'm outside. And like you can tell his voice on the phone is like so serious already. Like I would be scared if I got a phone call.
I would be so scared. And this is like a weird thing. My husband was watching with me and he was like, wait, isn't it the middle of the workday?
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, is it? But then this doesn't seem like a show that would like stage stuff, right? Like we know they do that on other Bravo shows.
I feel
what do you think?
I feel like there's a mixture of real-time stuff going on. Like I really think the whole timeline of Monica at the end, like having the conversation with Amrit and Nicholas, then going to see Rishi and then going to talk to her dad, like I don't think any of that was staged, but I do think that like there was some planning around this. Like I don't know if Brian was expecting that phone call, but one thing I've wondered, and maybe if there's some Bravo behind the scenes people who could tell us, is like, do they tell Brian, like clearly he was filming like on his thing, like do they tell him like, oh, and you're probably gonna get a phone call, so like have your phone nearby or something?
I mean they must have, right? Because like what if he had a meeting, right? Because the way they framed it was like he got the phone call and walked out of his house like right away, you know?
Yeah, he like magically had time to like take off or whatever. I don't know. It was, and then I'm not sure how that stuff works, but I think there is like a little bit of planning at least. And they clearly wanted to get this confrontation on camera in person. So they probably asked Amrit, like, don't just call him and talk to him about it. Like, drive to his house. And
there was a lot of driving to people's houses and like talking about. I was trying to think, like, does that? I guess I don't know.
I think Brian lives far away from the other cast members. That's what I gather.
I was going to ask you that because, like, I'm sure the parents kind of live in sort of like the family-friendly suburbs, and I think Coral Gables. Wait, is it Coral Gables?
Coral Gables is where Amrit lives, and it seems like maybe some of the other cast members live.
So more of like a younger, professional area,
maybe. And like Rishi lives in the city. I don't know. Miami confuses me. Like I don't know the geography at all, but yeah. So Amrit shows up, and he's just like, this is not chit chat. Like that's not the vibe. Like I'm here to like roast you, basically. And he like basically just like asks him like, did you lie? And Brian lies again. And then he realizes like, lying. Okay, I need to not lie anymore. And he's like, well, maybe a little bit. And Amrit gets so, oh my God, remind me never to piss Amrit off. Like, he came for him. Like he must be an excellent lawyer.
I could definitely see that. I don't know what kind of lawyer he is, but like I would be scared. And also not like Amrit is so friendly, like always, that I was shocked.
I know, but he was serious. I mean, he was mad. I think he said in an episode he's a corporate bankruptcy lawyer. Is that right?
Oh, yes. He did say something about bankruptcy. I remember that.
Yeah, I don't even know like what that means or like how, like what he does, but I let someone tell us. Amrit, you can tell us. But so I mean, the confrontation made me like literally, I think the look on my face when I first watched it was like, I started like tensing my jaw and I was like, I don't want these guys to be fighting with each other.
I would be sweating if I were Brian in my little like dress shirt.
Oh my God, I know. And he's like, I mean, and so Amrit's like, he's questioning my intelligence in his confessional, which took me a second. Then I was like, yeah, I guess like if someone's lying to you, they're assuming that you're not going to figure it out and that like maybe implicitly you're not smart enough to figure it out. And he's like, Brian, you think you're so much smarter than the rest of us. And Brian's like, I don't think that. And I think Brian really does not think that.
I don't think he thinks that, and no one thinks that. But then I was like, well, I mean, we see like a few hours of like these people's lives in a season. So like maybe he does have that vibe sometimes.
Maybe, but I mean, what was this the episode where they showed that like thing of him trying to calculate something and they were showing like the equations all around the screen?
I think it was later. He was talking to his coworker and she was laughing at him.
It's just like Brian is like, I don't think Brian's ever trying, from what we've seen, it doesn't seem like he's ever trying to like say I'm smarter than anyone else, but who knows?
Definitely not.
And Like, yeah, so they get into it. And then what really broke my heart was when Amrit was like, we don't want you to come to the bachelor party. And Brian looked so sad about that.
He was like, really?
Yeah, he was like, what? Like, his eyes got all big and he was like, no. It was like, oh my God.
He was so looking forward to it.
I know. And like, I mean, yeah, that was like a very real moment to me, I thought too. And yeah, and Amrit was like, you're not my friend. Like, it was like pretty intense.
Well, because we know these people are actually friends. So
exactly. It's like yeah, like show or not, it's like Brian clearly was like wanted to go to that bachelor party and like be there for his friend and like felt like I don't know. But I mean, he sort of shot himself in the foot. It's like
yeah,
he should have just said at that dinner that he had like, okay, like I fucked up. I told Rishi, like I know I shouldn't have, like whatever. Like Amrit would have gotten mad then, but I think he got a lot more mad knowing that Brian lied to him multiple times about it.
never lie to Amrit.
Yeah,
but
don't.
I also like that. I mean, you guys have talked about how, like the relationships are so authentic that they're bringing in Rishi's brother and brother's girlfriend. And like, obviously all these people hang out in the same circle. And like, it felt really authentic.
Totally. And this is like absolutely something that could happen in any like Indian community or South Asian community, like in the States. Like these rumors spread really quickly and within this friend group. But then also I thought like when Monica later was like, okay, like I need to talk to my dad because there's a high chance that like all the aunties and uncles are already talking about this too. And I was like, that's true. Like that happens. So
I was thinking that recently, like there was someone like a friend of the family and like their engagement broke up. And I found out about it because earlier, I think after it happened, my mother-in-law was like, yeah, everyone was talking about how there was problems in their relationship. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh my gosh, the gossip that goes on when it comes to like relationships and dating, like in Indian communities, is pretty wild. Like, there's no shame in like just talking about other people's shit like all the time. So.
No, I want if anyone is questioning that who's listening, it's absolutely true.
It's so real. It's really real. Okay, so then Brian calls Vishal and he's like, "What the fuck? Like, why did you tell him?" And Vishal, like, what? Who? Why did I write here? Vishal said he's acting like Bali.
Oh, he said that he was like, why can't I keep a secret? And then he was like, I don't know, maybe I'm hanging out with Bali too much. And then, I don't know where that came from exactly.
Well, apparently Bali spreads the gossip because Anisha mentions that later on too. They're like, who told you about this? And she's like, Bali, of course. So like Bali's around, is behind the scenes, just like spilling the chai all over the place.
I think I feel like she really understands like this is, I don't know. I mean, not like a mean way, but like she is like so crucial to this being like a show.
Oh yeah. No, Bali's a housewife scholar. Like she's been watching for forever since the beginning and like Bravo, whatever. And she's like, she owns up. There was some promo or something I saw that was like, Bali's like, I'm the center of all the drama. Like, I want to be the center of all the drama. Like, she is there to stir the pot. And you do need to have some of that energy, like, for these shows. So she's like doing it shamelessly, which, you know, more power to her. But Vishal's doing it like they all are, honestly. Like,
I kind of expected Brian to be more mad at Vishal. Yeah. And he was just like, Vishal was just like, yeah, I don't, like he owned up to it. Yeah. So I guess Brian couldn't say anything.
Yeah, I think Brian was just like, I think Brian has the capacity to be like very diplomatic in the moment with people. And maybe like, sometimes I see like some of his like captions on his Instagram posts or tweets or whatever. And he can like, it seems like it's not like it doesn't bother him. Like, I think he gets upset about stuff, but I think he's also like, he's such a people person that I think he's good at like kind of, I don't know, deflecting in the moment or like not even deflecting, like bringing down the situation. So that's probably what he did with Vishal. So then they're at this 90s store, or they're at a store, Vishal, Richa, and Bali. And so the bachelor party is 90s themed, but I guess the video inspo that was sent around was of 80s jazzercise. So they're like, how do we dress for this?
I love the zoom in on, I guess, the email or something that was sent, because it was so long and detailed, and I could just see like Amrit like writing that.
Yeah, he's like, these are the instructions and this is how it needs to be, like, totally. Which I would appreciate, honestly.
Yes,
like,
I do too.
Sometimes I feel like events like that, where the host like wants things to be a certain way, but they don't tell you, and then like you end up fucking something up because you didn't have enough information.
That fits with his, I don't know, personality.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're at this place, and Bali's talking about how she looked like the human version of Simba in the 90s.
I remember you saying, like, at some point, like, it's almost like you have too much hair.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it was like to me. But okay, I haven't listened to your interview with Bali yet, but I'm a little confused about the age. Like, what was she how old was she in that picture?
So she's 47 right now in 2022. So let's do the math. The 90s was 22 years ago.
I don't even want to hear that.
So she would have been in her early to mid 20s.
Oh, okay.
Well, so,
I thought she
like
was
the
younger
whole
in that
decade would have
picture.
spanned like age 15 to 25. Okay. So I think that picture was from like her early 20s. And yeah, I definitely, like, there was a period in college where I had long hair like I have now, but I had probably twice as much of it. And like, I feel like styling it and stuff like that was like really difficult because there was so much.
Well, we didn't have all the products and stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, I still like don't even know how to use any of that shit, but like, yeah, I mean, like back then it was like you had a hair dryer and like a curling iron.
Yeah, that was it.
And maybe a straightening iron if you were lucky. But yeah, I mean, I wish I still had that hair now.
You have a lot of hair.
I mean, I just, like, when you're pregnant, you stop losing your hair, you stop shedding. So pregnant women always have like really thick hair. And then I'm not at the stage, but postpartum, like around 3 or 4 months in, you start to shed again. And so it feels like you're losing like all of your hair, and it's really traumatic. So that hasn't started for me yet, but I'm just like bracing myself because my shower drain is going to be terrifying.
Well, I think you look like you have enough hair, but I'll take your word for it that the shedding.
Yeah, it's all relative, right? Like, I don't know. It's such a thing though, like Indian hair. I swear.
I have actually not had that. Like when they were showing the hair, I know exactly like your hair type, and my mom has that same type, but somehow like I got my dad's side, so my hair has always been like really straight, which I naively was like, oh, isn't it so lucky I don't have to deal with like the typical Indian like thick hair,
curliness.
But then when you get older and your hair just is like more fine, I wish I had that texture now.
I know. It's like, it's funny. My hair used to be straighter too. After my first pregnancy, like my hair grew back curlier than it was before. Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of, hair is interesting, so but weird. Bali's hair, I mean, it was a sight to be seen.
It was so funny.
Sure. I love that photo so much.
Haven't they shown it before?
They showed it. They showed a picture of her and Anisha, like from that time in like maybe episode 1 or 2. That was the same one. So,
I love it.
But they could show that in every episode, and I honestly wouldn't get sick of it.
Yeah, same.
So Vishal's like, I'm not going to drink at the bachelor party. And Bali whispers to Richa, like, yeah, he's going to drink at the bachelor party. Like, this is his best friend. And Bali's like, my shoe size is 7. And Richa's like, that's so common.
I thought that was funny that she was like, because I have the same thing. And she was like, is that a weird size? And Richard was like, no, it's just out because it's a really common size. I was like, yeah, duh.
Yeah, duh. I know. It's the same. Like, I'm like a 7.5 to 8, and often my shoe size is not available, but like everything else is, which is annoying. So, yeah, that's basically the extent of what they talk about at that thing. There's like this whole thing with Richa and Vishal and the marriage license, of course, which they talk about later at the dinner. But then they have this scene of Chitra Auntie and Dharma Auntie like going to pray at a temple together. They're like talking about on the way there, like Dharma's talking about her trainer, and Chitra Auntie's like, I need to start doing Zumba. And like, it's so funny. Like, Chitra Auntie says something about like, you know, we have an empty nest now after 40 years of having kids in the house. And she's like, everyone thinks it's going to be so romantic, but really it's like, okay, we're just going to like have some coffee and toast a muffin. And like eat it together.
I like that. I just love them so much.
I know. I feel like Chitra Auntie, both of them are both like you could get a lot of really good advice from them, but like kind of in different ways. Like Dharma Auntie's really like forceful and stuff. And like Chitra Auntie is too, but she's like a little less, I don't know. They sort of have a different vibe, but they're also similar. I don't know.
Yeah, they balance each other out. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. And there's like a part where like Dharma Auntie admits that like she defends her children even when they're wrong.
I was glad that she's like aware of it, but it does explain a lot about Brian.
Yeah, and especially because he's still living at home at 30. Like that does like, you know, seep into your whatever. But I mean, I also think Brian understood in this situation that he was wrong, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dharma Auntie, she's a protective mom. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Okay, so then there's a scene which we've talked a little bit about of like Amrit and Nicholas meet Monica, and she can like immediately sense that something is off, and they basically confess that what has happened here.
Can we go over what exactly was said? What are these text messages? Like, I'm not sure who was telling like everything.
You know how like in Bravo shows they'll like show the text messages on the screen? Like, never have I wanted to see texted messages more than these ones. Okay, so what Amrit said happened, which is a little bit more detailed than what we heard at the brunch, is that Neerja said that like she thinks there's been some cheating going on Rishi's part, and what that stems from are some text messages between Neerja and Sonit, who's Rishi's younger brother. Right. So like those two in a relationship, about how they dropped Rishi off to meet a girl like after partying.
Okay.
One night or something like that. Was that what you caught too?
Well, I thought she thought he was cheating, but like maybe had other reasons besides, like, was it one text message? Did they only drop him off once? Like, I just want to know if there's more than that.
From what it sounds like this was one text message, but like who knows what else could have been going on, and like who is he, like who's the girl he's meeting? Like he says to Monica later, like, I'm not friends with any girls.
Yeah.
So that's also a little suspect. Like, then who was he meeting? Like, I'm assuming she's not, like, if she showed him those text messages, like there was a conversation about this that happened. Like there's something that happened.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we know. We need to see the text. Someone
like, yeah.
Please.
And like maybe it was just like a girl who was having an after party and all of his friends were there or something. Like, I don't know, maybe it's that, or maybe like I don't know.
But then
it's very weird.
We also know that Neerja is not a fan of Monica. Right. They didn't expel, like, they're not close, I think is what Monica said.
Well, in the previous episode, Amrit is like, no, they don't get along. And then Monica, like a little bit more diplomatically in this episode, is like, well, she's like 5 years younger than me. We're like in different parts of our lives. Like we don't see eye to eye. So it wasn't like, oh, we actively dislike each other, but it was like, it was definitely the vibe was like, we don't really interact even.
But do you think that Amrit thinks she was telling the truth?
Who? Nirja?
Yeah. I guess like if he saw the text, then he like, do you think he thinks Rishi is cheating? I couldn't tell.
That's a good question. Like, because remember, like initially it starts off with him texting Vishal from the party, like,
yeah,
I have information that's gonna like break people. Like, to me, that's like something that in the moment he at least felt like, yeah, this is real. This is like something that really could break up their relationship.
No matter how drunk he was, I don't think he would say that if it was one text message about, can you drop me off at this girl's place or something, you know?
Yeah. And who knows like what he's holding back from telling Monica too at this point, right? Like he probably just wants to tell her enough so that she like has information, but maybe not the whole thing to like not totally crush her in that moment.
Right.
Although it's like in that situation, it's like you might as well just tell them everything.
I wonder if he didn't want it on camera.
Maybe, because that's a tricky part of all of this too, right? Is like this is clearly all being filmed, and it's like a very real thing that's happening to Monica in her life.
I can't remember when they said this. Now I want to skip ahead, but I was not also a fan of, I think Vishal and maybe Brian saying something about like, oh, Monica just wants to project that she has the perfect relationship. I was like,
yes. Okay. So that comes up in the next scene. So they tell her, okay, so then the other thing is like, so Monica, I felt like Monica was really calm actually.
Yeah.
Like she was clearly upset, but she was like pretty calm. And she was like, I need to know what Nirja said. Like, can you call her? And Amrit was clearly like, I do not want to call her.
Did he call? I mean, I know he said he did, and it was like
no. So he calls her, and she doesn't pick up the phone, and he's like, I think she's screening my calls. And she was like, okay. And she's just like, and then she says in her confessional, she's just like, I don't know who to trust. Like, no one has been upfront with me in this situation. And I was like, that's so true. Like,
I know
all these people around you have let you down. Like, number one, your boyfriend. And then like Brian, your best friend, Amrit and Nicholas, who like knew about it. Like everyone at that brunch heard this information too. Like, I think it would have been way less of an issue if Brian had actually gone to Monica to tell her this. Like, I don't think Amrit would have been as mad about that.
No, but I don't know. I know Brian said that he wished he would have done that, but I don't know. I don't think he would have.
I mean, he even said it was bro code, and I'm like, ugh. And Monica's like, sisters before misters, which was, I liked that. Okay, so they show her then they show her in the car going to meet Rishi at this park when she calls Brian, and she's like, Brian's like, oh, I'm having such a tough work day. And she's like, whatever, like, tell me what, like, what is going on?
I don't care.
And she's just like, fuck you. And again, I think she's calm. She doesn't say fuck you. She says like, sisters before misters, like, you should have told me. She didn't yell at him. She was
being way too nice.
Yeah, she was being like pretty diplomatic about it, I thought. And clearly she's like, I need to get the information from Rishi. Like, the real issue here is like, did Rishi cheat on me? Like, what did he know? Like, what's going on? And so she meets him and they like have this conversation. So what did you think about Rishi's explanations and vibe?
Well, okay. So my flags were up when he was like, it's like a joke that I have said this to my husband a couple of times when he was like, you should move in, but wait, where are you going to put your Indian clothes? Because it's like a thing in my house that I have to have a separate closet. But like, if I was going to move in with my boyfriend and the reason he gave was like, where are we going to put your Indian clothes? I was like, this is not someone who's genuine. So like I already was like, he is not interested. Like,
okay, so you wrote it off during that conversation in the kitchen.
Yeah, I was like, this
Okay.
is done. He doesn't want to.
That's true.
Go
I was
further
like,
with her.
oh, he just wants them to have like a house that they can grow into. But
I
you're
know,
right. He
no.
did give that specific example, and that's a little shady.
It's so random. Like, why would that be a problem?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, that was weird. And then he was just very like, I was talking to someone who was like, they were like, the way Rishi was talking was similar to a situation that I've had with someone who cheated on me, where they like kind of like said a bunch of stuff, like made up all these things, and then kind of got back to like, but you trust me, right? Like this doesn't like mess up the trust between you and me. And it's like, he definitely like, he does that in this conversation. And then if you've seen the sneak preview of next week's episode, which is all over Instagram already, he talks about what he lied about, which is the timeline, which we all kind of thought of that it was. Like, he definitely like talks circles around it and tries to deflect a lot, and then ends with but like, you trust me, right? Like, this is like, and it's like, so that was interesting to hear that from someone. And I just feel like, I don't know, he seemed like a little too cool about the whole situation.
He seemed like kind of robotic when he was like,
yeah.
Obviously I would never do anything to hurt you, and you know that, right? Like, it's
yeah. It was like, this is the line I need to say, and I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
And if you see so go to our Instagram if you haven't seen it yet. But
wait, so I started looking at it, but my sound wasn't on, so I don't think I.
Okay, so there's this. They show the clip of like them under the umbrella, and he's explaining like, I lied to you about the timeline, like I have known for a week. And then he deflects to this crazy sentence, like couple of sentences. He says like, he's like, but why did Brian tell everyone and not tell me, and blah, blah. Like, literally, I can't even repeat it because it's the most confusing 10 seconds of audio I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I saw that you wrote that. Like, isn't that a sign of a liar where like they just keep circling back to like,
oh my God,
something
like,
that doesn't apply?
Literally, if you do hear it, like, and you can figure it out on the first try, like, good for you, because it is like, he's talking circles around himself even, and it's just like, it felt frantic to me, which like is, I don't know, not a good sign. And like, clearly he was caught in a lie and he's like fessing up to it, but it's like, something is not right, like something
no
is
matter
not
what
right.
Maybe he's cheating, maybe he's not, but something is not right.
Exactly. And I think a lot of what I'm seeing and what I agree with from people in the comments and stuff is like, someone said, and I really agree, like, cheating or not, like, they're not on the same page about not just like this, but like the engagement thing, like the timeline moving in, like all of that. It's like,
yeah,
they're not on the same page. And like,
no,
Monica needs him to be on her page, like now.
Yeah.
Like yesterday.
And she deserves someone to be on her page.
Yeah, and if that's what she wants, like, she should have that. And he knows that.
Yeah.
And he said in that conversation at his apartment, like, I know what you want and I think we're aligned. But it's like, no, you're like, why are you saying that? That's not true.
It's not.
So like, anyway, before we get to like the end of the episode where like Raj Uncle talks to him.
Oh, the best.
So there's this dinner with Bali, Richa, and Avni. And
oh, right, I forgot about that.
Bali's like talking about how she needs to kind of like get out of the house and do more because she's like going through this really hard transition in her life.
Right.
And Avni is talking about she's approaching her dating life like she's the Indian bachelorette, and Bali gives her the biggest side eye I've ever seen, or the way they cut it anyway.
So Avni is Richa's friend.
Yeah.
But is she new to the circle? Like, does Bali know her before the wedding?
Yes, because so we found out in the last episode that Avni dated Neil Patel, who is cousins with Sean and Dylan.
Okay.
And he's like part of the whole compound. And that was like 10 years ago. So like she's been in and around this like group of people for a long time. And Bali is like good friends with Kalpana and like all those people. So definitely has known her for years. Like how much, I'm not really sure. But yeah, the main connection is like Richa and Avni are friends.
Okay.
But and then Rich is talking about how she won't sign the marriage license, and Bali also gives her a side eye.
This is so like okay, is she playing this up for the cameras? Because if she's not, that's like a really big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I think the whole like I'm gonna hold this over you type of thing is like not really the healthiest way to handle, especially like kind of a big issue like this. It's like clearly whatever is going on with Vishal and his drinking and his health, like there's like a slower and longer transition that needs to happen like within himself for him to like really get out of that. And I think Rich is using the tactic of like, if I like shock you out of this, then like if I give you this ultimatum, then like this will make you change. And I'm like, I think Richa, like I think she's too smart to know that like that's not actually gonna work, like just holding the marriage. So I do wonder, like you said, if maybe it is played up for the show a bit. I definitely think the whole like engagement thing in the previous 2 seasons was like really played up for the show, like her giving back the ring and stuff. Like,
okay. So maybe more of that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of that. Like, because we see a preview of the next episode where she's like talking with him and he's like, I know you want me to like change for others. And she's like, no, I want you to live, which like really points to the fact that like, it's not so much that like he's drinking and partying a lot. Like, it's more like, I'm concerned for your health because this causes such bad inflammation of your Crohn's that like it could kill you type of situation.
Yeah, that was really serious.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of what's going on. But I'm not totally sure. That's a whole thing. I think we're going to see more about that in the next episode. Mm-hmm. So there's so much that happened in this episode.
There was a lot.
Amrit and Vishal go get waxed.
That was hilarious.
Oh, and this is where they talk about how like Vishal's like Monica wants things to be perfect.
Oh, okay, that's when they said it. I couldn't remember.
And like I don't think like, and they show her like on the swings with Rishi after they've had that conversation in the park. Yeah. And I'm like, Monica's finding all of this out like in real time. And like, this is a man that she wants to marry and spend the rest of her life with. And she's just trying to like figure it out. Like, if she's trying to have a light moment with her boyfriend amidst all of this stress, like, I can totally relate to that, Yeah.
I mean, it's so much to deal with. She might not even just want to like think about it right now. Like, maybe she's someone who needs time to process. And
exactly. It's like, like literally she's finding this all out, like from the lunch to the car ride conversation with Brian to this conversation with Rich. It's like, it's a lot of information to take in and deal with.
And she doesn't know who's telling the truth. She doesn't know who's like on her side.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't like fault her for that at all. Like, and I don't think she's writing it off either. She's clearly like handling the situation head on, especially when she like goes home and tells her dad right away about what's going on.
Yeah, obviously that shows she's taking it seriously.
So tell me what you thought about the waxing scene. I thought it was so funny.
I just thought, so I've never gotten, I don't know. I've only gotten waxed a couple times. But when Amrit was like, oh, let me see if they have drinks, and then asked for like a bourbon, I was like, wait, is this a thing? Like, I don't go to like, fancy waxing places. But I guess it makes sense if you're going to be like doing something painful.
Yeah, I was also like, is it shitty of him to ask for 2 bourbons when Vishal is clearly not trying to drink?
That's why I can't tell if this is for real, because he's obviously his like very, very, close friend.
Yeah, I mean, Amrit is probably like, it's not my responsibility to stop him. Maybe he's like, if he doesn't drink it, I'll drink the other one. Like, I don't know. But it's like, clearly Vishal's not going to say no. It seems like, especially when he's around Amrit, like he just wants to have fun and like have like chill with his best friend, and like having a drink has been part of that for a while for them. So like giving that up is like particularly hard, it seems like.
And then I don't know if the drinking is just part of the waxing, because I know people will like take Tylenol or whatever before.
like the pain mitigation.
I think so. I think I think people will do it before. I think someone correct me.
I mean,
then I was like,
he was getting his whole chest waxed. Like, oh my God.
When they put the wax near his nipple, I was like cringing.
I have never been to like a waxing place, and I don't think I could do it.
No, and it reminded me of that like I don't know how old people are who watch this show, but that scene from 40-Year-Old Virgin where they take him to get his chest waxed, like his coworkers, and he yells out like, Kelly Clarkson.
Yes, I forgot about that scene. That's a good one. Yeah, so that happens, and then there's one more scene before the end at the Benny household where Anisha goes over with her mom, and Anisha's like, she's like talking about how like when you're living at home in your 30s, like it makes you less desirable to partners. And I'm like, Anisha, that's what you're doing. Like, what?
I was thinking about this because I wonder if she was saying that she wouldn't date, like it's worse somehow if a man lives at home, but it's like it would be different for her because she was a woman.
I think maybe, I don't know. And she did say like, I'm one to talk because like I'm living at home too. But it was definitely like, oh yeah, Brian, if you want to like actually date someone, you have to move out like ASAP. And it's like, okay, well, maybe, yeah. If you want to have like a real relationship with someone, you can't be living with your parents.
But I don't know if Brian wants to have a real relationship.
I don't think he wants to. Like, I don't think he's interested in like truly settling down right now. Like, and that's okay. Like, it's sort of like, he's so wishy-washy about it. Lately, he's been saying more and more that he's single and he's fine and he's thriving and all that. But it's like, yeah, I don't know.
I think he will move out when he starts dating someone seriously and they're like, you have to move out.
Yeah, like once it's someone who it's like worth moving out for.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do it on its own.
Totally, yeah. I mean, actually, from watching Instagram and stuff over the past year, I think he moved out.
Oh.
I think he has his own place now. So, check that box for moving towards a marriage or even just a long-term relationship or any relationship, really.
Yeah, just getting some independence.
Totally. I mean, it worked with Monica Shaw, I guess. Like,
but she didn't love doing that, did
probably, she didn't live in Miami, though.
Yeah.
So that was part of that equation, too. Okay, so then we've got this final scene where Monica comes home and she's like, I need to talk to you about something serious. And she talks about how, like, I think the whole community probably already knows about this, so I need to get ahead of it and like tell him.
That was so
and he's
sad.
Like, I will cut off his dick and hand it to you. Which, okay, another Bravo account like posted that clip on their stories and tagged us. And so I just like reposted it on our stories. And Instagram like sent me a thing being like, this is like against our community guidelines.
Well, I mean, it wasn't bleeped out.
It wasn't
Not that I
bleeped
think
out, but I guess it's
Bravo
like,
doesn't do that for Dick, right?
no, I guess it was like too violent, the sentiment.
Oh, it was that.
It's not so
Okay,
much
yeah.
like that, but more like cutting off someone's dick and handing it to someone else is like too much for Instagram.
He was so calm when he said it too.
Oh my gosh. And he said it in the episode before to all the uncles. He said the same, like, if someone
right. I
like
forgot
messes
about
with my
that.
daughter, I'll cut off his dick. Like, he's really into that idea, I guess.
Good for him.
Yeah. So he's like serious about it. And you know, and Monica's like, I don't believe the rumor, like, you know, and then she like goes to bed. And then Raj Uncle calls Rishi.
I can't believe he did that.
And asks him to come over, which I thought was like, you know, like, he's just like, I'm going to take care of this. Like, I need to talk to him. And like, so Rishi drives over there at like 9. It's almost 10 o'clock at night. It's raining cats and dogs.
Raining. That's what I was going to say. That's why I was like, what is up with all these people like just driving over? But I guess, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's all happening. Like, this is all happening within the span of one day, by the way. Like, so wild.
Oh, right. Okay. So I have to say, I was really impressed with Rishi for going over there and like talking to her dad and like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's lying or whatever, but I felt like he was very respectful.
Yeah, I think Rishi is like super respectful, I think, of like the whole respect your elders thing in South Asian culture. Like he's good at that.
Yeah.
And like the other thing that Monica says in the confessional, so the other thing that Raj and Monica talk about, which I feel a little conflicted on, is like Raj Uncle's like, okay, well, it's good that you don't believe this, and like I don't either, but like now is the time that we need a commitment from him. Like, you need to get engaged. And Monica's like, yeah, I think I really want that now. And it's like, how does like a cheating allegation that you don't believe turn into now I need the engagement? You know, like I get it, because it's like, prove that this is not a thing and that like whatever. And also like, maybe this is precisely the time that you need to not get engaged, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. I understand how they got there, but also like whether it's rumors or not. And I know there's not always, what is it? If there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
that's not always the case, but like, yeah, this is the time I think to like pump the brakes on.
Yeah, like maybe
actually
take a beat. But I think like Monica's clearly like, no, I don't believe it. Like, this isn't real. But like, we need to, it was almost like we need to shut this down by like getting engaged. And like,
yeah,
turn this into like our forever story now, instead of like, okay, like maybe there's some things we need to work on here. Like, why are you lying to me about these little things?
Right.
Like, what's going on here? And then Raj Uncle's like, there's always a shadow of a doubt. He says that to Rishi. And it's like, yeah, like it's sort of like when a rumor like this comes up, like it does kind of bring up like where there's smoke, there's fire. Even if it's just like a little bit of fire, like it's something's going on. Like this didn't just happen out of nowhere.
And like, okay, so let's say it's his brother's girlfriend like causing problems or something. Yeah. Like that's an issue too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I would love to I'm really like, she clearly has not agreed to be on the show for whatever reason. And It's like, I want to hear from her. Like, I want a confessional with Nirja, like, more than anything. Even Sonit, I want to hear from him, too, because he's part of this, too.
I want Kenya to bring her on. You know, like, we need someone to bring her on at some group event.
Oh, my God. Like, put her on Watch What Happens Live. Like,
yeah,
just put her on. Let's just see what she has to say, because I want to see those text messages, like, honestly.
Are people like sleuthing and finding her on Instagram and stuff?
So we found her. she's not hard to find. This is the thing that makes it confusing. I said this in the last episode. They like blurred out her face, but she has like almost 30,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, her handle is Near Jalicious, and like you can easily find her. Like it's clear that she's Sonit's girlfriend and everything. So she's like not afraid of being in the public eye, clearly.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so wait,
yeah.
Never mind.
No, what?
Well, no, I feel like I'm talking too much.
No.
I also just like, I find it fascinating that like, I find it interesting, but I could see how maybe like other like Bravo viewers maybe don't. Is there such this thing about like in the culture about like not embarrassing your family and not like bringing any kind of
shame.
I know it sounds antiquated. Yeah, shame or scandal or whatever. Because I think without it, we would get like, we would get the texts, we would get like the drunken conversations, you know, we would get her talking, you know, but I get that
maybe
that's not part of the show.
There is something to that, though, I think, about like not bringing shame on the family. I think maybe that's a reason why there's so much gossip behind the scenes, is because like people know what's happening, but like to talk about it publicly is like a whole other level of like shame and whatever that like we don't want to actually talk about it in a public thing, but we do want to talk about it. So we'll just gossip behind the scenes type of situation.
Oh, that's so true. Wow, is she like an influencer?
Yeah, I mean, I think Deanna said that like she had ads and
gorgeous
stuff. Like she's like making it happen. So
okay, good for her. She would be great on a reality show.
She would be great. I know. I'm like, what's going on? Deanna thinks that it's because like she wanted money and they didn't give it to her or something.
Oh, smart. Also.
Which I could totally see.
I mean, this network treats the show like crap, so I'm sure they wouldn't be like.
I know. They're probably like, it's like we're doing you a favor. And she's probably like, fuck you, no. Like, blur my face out. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near this. So, but anyway, the episode ends with Raj Uncle basically telling Rishi himself, which I also think is maybe stepping a line too far. Like, you need to get engaged to Monica.
No.
Like, I would be pissed if my parent did that, actually.
Yeah.
But Monica I don't know. Like, they have a different type of relationship. So, and Rishi clearly knows that, like, they are so close and whatever that, like, I don't think it was shocking for him to hear that from Raj Uncle. But yeah.
Do you think he's heard it before?
I mean, it's clearly like a topic of conversation. Yeah. The other thing Monica says, which is interesting, is she's like, we had this trip to Greece and I expected to get engaged and I didn't get engaged. And just for the people who want to know, like the timeline on that, the trip to Greece was in May, which was like, I think a few months after all of this is going down.
Oh, so this was after the cheating stuff.
Yeah, they kind of make it seem like this has already happened at this point, but this is actually a few months after all of this is happening, as far as I can tell from what I've seen on Instagram and stuff. So,
and as someone who has expected to be engaged at like a big event and then it not happening, like it's really sad. I don't know why I'm laughing, but
so were you like really mad about it?
No, I wasn't. I think my mom was expecting it.
Okay.
Yeah, and she would never like say anything. And we ended up getting married anyways, but like I don't even think I don't know if Rishi, do you think Rishi thought that she expected to get engaged on that trip?
Probably. It was like a birthday trip, I think. And like, you know, like that's kind of a big trip like that is like often a time to get engaged. True. I think, right?
And get those perfect pictures and it's stuff.
Like Monica's not like being cagey about wanting to be engaged. Like she's been very upfront and honest about that. So like Rishi knows, and like and that conversation when they were like making the fried rice, I feel like he was sort of hinting at like, I'm planning something. I just don't want to ruin the surprise.
It just feels like there's so many guys who do that are like, oh, well, it's going to ruin the surprise if I tell you the timeline.
And then they're just they're buying more time, really.
Yeah, because then you're just like waiting.
I know. It's just like, again, back to that comment, like cheating or not, like these two are not on the same page. And it's like, Rishi is just like, I think he's just like, especially to Raj Uncle's face, I think he's afraid to say, like, I'm not ready to get engaged. He's just like not willing to just straight up say that to anyone.
I think what Raj Uncle was trying to say, and like maybe he said it to him before, was to say, if you don't intend on marrying my daughter, stop wasting your time.
Yeah, I think, okay, maybe he didn't say engagement, but he said more that, like, what are your intentions? Like, this needs to be serious type of thing.
Yeah.
Which like implicitly is like, ask her to marry you, right? But
I think Rishi is probably sick of hearing getting engaged.
He's clearly sick of it. Like in his confessionals, he's like, fuck this. Like, please stop telling me what to do, everybody. Like, it's really annoying. So
all these men are such babies.
Oh, I know. I mean, So, I mean, I have to revise my former feelings on the matter. Like, honestly, like we interviewed Rishi, so I've met him in some sense, and I do think he's a good person and like a stand-up guy. Something is amiss in this whole situation. I don't know what it is, but like there's something not quite right with going on between him and Monica right now. Okay, so that was the episode, and it was definitely a doozy. Like, bravo, shame on you for not having one of these people on Watch What Happens Live. Like,
wait, did the episode end with the to be continued of Rishi saying, I did lie to you?
Yeah.
When was that?
So
was it supposed to be like the next day?
It was the next day. He comes over and knocks on her. Oh, yeah, that's the end of the episode. He knocks on. Yeah. Sorry, I'm totally leaving this out. He goes to her house.
No, because it's almost like it was like a preview.
Yeah, he surprises her. They go outside and they're under the umbrella. And he's like, I lied to you, to be continued. And then you can go on Instagram to the Family Karma page to see what actually happens. They have the clip up there, and then I have like the part of the clip that's just like so ridiculous.
Okay, so I just listened to your part. It's so funny.
It's so like someone commented, they're like, is this like sped up? And I'm like, no, it's like no. That's the audio. Like,
that's so funny.
It's really wild. So
he's so panicking.
Yeah, it's definitely like a panicky vibe, which I don't know, brings up some questions. But yeah, so, and the other thing that's really exciting is that I have received confirmation that the season is not only 7 episodes, so they're gonna
I was wondering about that because you kept saying like I can't see anymore.
Yeah, no, so I guess they just haven't posted them on IMDb yet. But so there's this week's episode and then one more week, and then there's like the holiday break where they don't have new stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
But I guess they'll be back sometime in January, so that's all stuff to look forward to. And make sure you're following us on Instagram and Twitter. And
you've done a great job posting like a bunch of reels and good clips.
I'm trying to like figure out how reels work because I was scared of them for so long, but now I think now it's like the algorithm is like if you're not posting a reel, they like won't show it. It seems like so. So that kind of was that. But Sneha, tell people how they can find you, your podcast, and any socials or anything like that.
Sure. So you can listen to my podcast, Project Mindy, on all podcasting platforms, and you can follow me on Instagram at Project Mindy.
Yay. And definitely listen to her podcast. It's really fun. And the other thing is a lot of people have reached out asking for Anisha's husband's information in the DMs. And it's also been accompanied by a lot of really nice messages from people I haven't heard from before, just saying that they love the podcast. And thank you so much for saying that. And if you want to do us solid, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you do your podcasting. We've had a couple reviews from people who are like, you guys say like too much. Case in point, I say like all the time. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And someone else said something about how we're like simps for the cast and we're like secretly only here like trying to promote their side hustles, which is like really not the case.
I don't think so. I think you call them out.
Whatever. You do you, people. So we need some more positive reviews.
Yeah, it's super fast, everyone, to just leave a review.
It does make a difference. Even if you just hit 5 stars and you don't write anything, like even that helps. So help us out. We'd really appreciate it. Do the same for Project Mindy.
Thank you.
And Sneha, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Oh, anytime. I love talking about this show.
Yay. All right. We'll have you back. And thanks, everybody, for listening. Bye-bye.